Now that is the way to start the season. Excitement, drama, pitching, timely hitting, and wins. What a start. Let's talk about it. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast, postgame edition. What a debut for Jacob deGrom, who just showed why he is such a great pitcher. It is something that a young pitcher can learn from. What a performance as Jacob deGrom gets it done in his season debut. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast, post-game edition after the Rangers beat the Red Sox 3-2 in this series finale. They take the series 3-1. It is not easy to win a 4-game series, but the Rangers did that, and in fact, they were sort of one bad pitch in a way, that one on opening day from Luke Jackson. They were one bad pitch away from perhaps sweeping a series from a Boston Red Sox team, frankly, that many in baseball and many of the prognosticators and pundits feel is the class of the American League East. Obviously, the Yankees are off to a really good start, so they may have something to say about that before it's all said and done. But the Rangers have put the Red Sox in a hole, no doubt about that. They start the season 1-3. Meantime, the Rangers start the season 3-1, and the lead of this game, no doubt, is Jacob deGrom. Great to see as he goes through the lineup the first time through the Red Sox lineup, and he doesn't strike out anybody. The second time through the lineup, he mixes in a lot more curveballs and a lot more changeups, and he strikes out 6 in his second trip through that Red Sox lineup. So a pretty amazing accomplishment, and it begs the question, and certainly he'll be asked this, was the fastball not as effective? Was it not working? Were you not feeling it? You didn't use those other secondary pitches much in the first time through, but you did. Or was that just gamesmanship, right? Maybe that was just him saying, all right, so you saw me, you see what I got, now look at this. And whatever it was, it definitely worked for Jacob deGrom, who goes 5 innings. He allowed 2 hits. He walked 2, but it was the same hitter both times, and it was Wilyer Abreu. And as I was sitting here watching the game with the Prophet, I'm like, I really believe those are like those intentional walks. He wasn't throwing him anything, and deGrom wasn't, and just kind of hoping like, maybe he'll chase one. He didn't. Good for Abreu. He took the 2 walks, but in a way, those almost don't even belong on Jacob deGrom's ledger. Doesn't matter because he didn't get the victory, but he definitely got the performance that he needed and that the Rangers needed. Sean Armstrong ends up getting the win in this game, but the 6 strikeouts from Jacob deGrom, fantastic. The performance, fantastic and inspirational, and the Rangers are off to a 3-1 start on the season so far. I love Misty with the super chat. We love you, Misty. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Rangers able to get deGrom the win. That's right. They couldn't get one for Eovaldi, but it's good to see deGrom pitch well, says I love Misty. And the team, too, eventually hoping they can dominate Cincinnati, something that they couldn't do back in 2023. And that's the reality. Cincinnati's still figuring things out. That's where the Rangers are headed next. We preview that a little later on in the program. Jeff Wilson joins us. He's at Globe Life Field right now, and he's getting post-game reaction from Bruce Bochy, Jacob deGrom, perhaps from Luke Martin, who now has 2 saves on the season. And that was the other story of this game, was that the bullpen has come through. Basically, your high-leverage guys, and that is Chris Martin, Luke Jackson, and, of course, Why am I drawing a blank here? Oh, yeah. Jackson and Martin and Armstrong was in there today, too. And Garcia, Robert Garcia, are the three high leverage guys. And they all pitched in 3 of the 4 games. So doing their job. Chris Martin did a great job again today. Thrilled to see him get the save yesterday. And it shows that they're somewhat interchangeable. However, we see how it wants to play out, how Boch wants it to play out. Garcia, Martin, Luke Jackson, and let's try our luck. And 3 out of the 4 games this series, that grouping has worked out pretty well. So really nice to see the bullpen succeeding. And there's no doubt about the pose of the game. The pose of the game was like this. And that was Adolis after he hit that home run. He gave that bat a little flip, and then he put that hand up in the air. And I'm telling you, to me, the pose was almost as important as the actual home run. Because what we remember about 2023, and even going back to 2022, heck, maybe even 21, was when Adolis is playing with that fire and that emotion, it's contagious. And so if he can continue to feel it like he's feeling it so far this season, and certainly the last 2 games, it's going to be fantastic for this entire team. So fantastic start for Adolis. Love the Wyatt Langford home run. It came at such a critical time with the Rangers down 1, and Wyatt gets that wall scraper just over the wall. We thought it might have been caught, but just over the wall out there in right field. And how about the Rangers' new Skycam line cam thing on that one? Fantastic coverage of that thing. As you know, the camera basically followed it all the way along there, and you see it get over that wall. And it was one of those that fell between the wall of the outfield and the stands, so nobody even got to get their hands on that one. So really nice game, really nice clutch performance by Wyatt, followed by a clutch performance from Adolis, and it was just a really great conclusion to a weekend that you can really remember. Now, again, as I mentioned, these Red Sox are a very good team. Another super chat there, and we appreciate it. In Bochy, we trust, no doubt about that. The World Series, here we come. Gap year, hype. Yeah, he's a gap year guy, and maybe this is it. Maybe he is headed toward that. Maybe he's got some magic, right? That after the World Series, it doesn't work out, but then he's like, I know all the right things to say now. It did fail him one time, but the rest of the times that they won, he took the team back to the World Series the next year. Most managers will tell you, however, that they're much better managers when they have great players, and the Rangers have demonstrated they do. Now, you look at the batting order, the lineup for today's game, and you see Leody Taveras and Jonathan Ornelas and Ezekiel Duran, Zeke down in the bottom third of that order, and you're like, oh boy, what are we going to do with? How are we going to win this? Is there any chance to win this one? Amazingly, those guys accounted for the first run in the game, gave the Rangers the 1-0 lead on the sacrifice fly by Zeke. And so, that was fantastic as he scored Jake Berger with the sac fly in that second inning, and the Rangers took a 1-0 lead. So, and you had a single from Leody in that same inning. So that was pretty good. Jonathan Ornelas, he flew in from Seattle on the red eye. Left Seattle about midnight last night. Got here, and he was pressed right into service. It's not like it's that foreign, especially for a minor league player to do that, but tough day for him, tough call for him. Made the plays for the most part in the field. Didn't get much going at the plate. Struck out his first 2 times up. I did appreciate his attempt to bunt there in the 7th inning. He might have caught him off guard and gotten there, and he almost did beat that out. But I like the fire, and I like the choice of Ornelas, and it's nice to see him here at the big league level. Look, you're not going to see him play just a ton at this point. They're hoping that Josh Smith will be healthy by tomorrow, healthy enough by tomorrow to play. If you missed it pregame, why Ornelas was here, it's because Josh Young went on the injured list with that neck stiffness. It's a 10-game injured list stay, and because Josh Smith had that bruised quad from running into the basically into the wall trying to field a ball in the first inning yesterday. He wasn't able to answer the bell, so they decided and they had to use the injured list until April 11th. You can't just call a guy up from the minors because you want to. It has to be because of an injury, and because Josh Young went to the injured list, they were able to call up Jonathan. So just a really, really fun way for the Rangers to start this season. I know it has a lot of fans excited, and it's just understandable, right? This is a really good Red Sox team that they beat today, and this is one of those games, one of those series, that you can remember. Bochy said beforehand, you always want to start good. You start well to the season, and really 2-2 would have been a good start, right? 3-1 is a fantastic start for the Rangers, and again, you can argue, but for one bad inning, Rangers could have swept this series, and that would have been unbelievable to start off against a Red Sox team. The Red Sox have good pitching, and that's why these games were all so close. It would be nice for that bullpen, even those high-leverage guys, to have a little breathing room coming up in the near future. And the one thing, if there's anything that really disappointed me about this game, it was that the Rangers weren't able to create breathing room. I talked about Jake Burger scoring on that sac fly in the second inning. The Rangers led off the second inning against Pitts with a single by Jake Burger, Kyle Higashioka, and Leody Taveras, right? So, and they were all hard hit balls, and so you could only go station to station on each of those hits. So you've got the runners, the bases loaded with nobody out. And that's when, Jonathan Ornelas and Ezekiel Duran came to the plate. And like I say, Zeke, he hit a ball hard. It looked like that ball was going to get down, actually, out there. And Duran made a nice, Jaron Duran made a nice play on Ezekiel Duran. And so there was only one run that was able to score in that inning. But you hate loading the bases in the second inning with nobody out and getting only one run home in that game. It might have been different all the way through if not for that. But the Rangers were hoping that Jacob deGrom could go 5 innings, and they were hoping that Jacob deGrom could go about 75 pitches. That's exactly what he did. It was mission accomplished for Jacob deGrom. It was mission accomplished for the Rangers bullpen, and it was just enough hitting to get it done for the Rangers to get a victory today, 3-2 over the Red Sox. Couple little things, there's always things you can, lack of a better word, complain about, but let's say learn from. And as Jake Burger continues to learn the position, now Ezekiel Duran got the error on that play. On a throw would have been a really tough play. But Jake Burger will tell you probably today, he's probably telling people now, he should have scooped that ball. That's a tough scoop. And I was sitting, like I say, I was sitting with the prophet, and I said, okay, it's the first time we've seen Jake not get it done so far at first base. That's a play that your great first baseman and your good first baseman make, and he'll be making it. I mean, he's going to be there every day. In fact, Jeff asked Boch before the game today, when they were like, wow, we don't have Josh Smith, we don't have Josh Young, obviously, and Jeff asked him, did you even talk about having Jake Burger move over to third base, because he played a lot of third? And Boch said, yeah, we did. I mean, we talked about it, but we're going to leave him there. Ezekiel Duran, especially in 23, first half of 23, maybe 22. Zeke did a great job. No, it was 23. Zeke did a great job filling in over there. So they're not worried about Ezekiel Duran's ability to play third base. And, hopefully he can get enough at bats to make the bat more viable. That would be another concern, that Ezekiel, who had such a great, really first half of the season in 2023 when he was getting lots of playing time, he hasn't ever hit like that at the big league level, except in that first half of 2023. So these are some of the things that we can maybe wring our hands about a little bit, but the big picture and the bottom line is that the Rangers are 3-1. They have gotten off to a fantastic start to the season. Jeff Wilson is going to join us in just a few minutes here. He'll have thoughts on what the manager had to say, what Jacob deGrom had to say, perhaps what some of those high leverage guys in the bullpen had to say. He's working the clubhouse, and we want to keep chatting with you. So we'll chat with you. We'll hear from Jeff, and we'll continue this post game reaction on the DLLS Rangers podcast. First, I want to tell you about Monarch Money. Have you ever wondered, like, where the heck is all my money going? What's it doing? Especially in these sort of trying times with with regard to the economy and everything right now. Where is my money? Anybody got any idea? Well, I can tell you where it is, or at least Monarch Money can tell you where it is. If you're having any issues deciding what to do with your money, you should use Monarch Money. How are you using Monarch? Well, you can use it for checking your finances. You can maximize your investments. You can review transactions, weekly spending reviews, tracking of categories. There's so many things that you can do with Monarch Money. And what we would like you to do is to get control over your overall finances with Monarch Money. If you use the code DLLS at monarchmoney.com, in your browser for the first half of the year, that's 50% off for your first year at Monarch Money if you use the code DLLS. So we encourage you to do that, won't you please? And we also encourage you to, let me remind myself who else we're going with. Sleeper. We encourage you. Thank you, Prophet. We changed the ads here at the last minute. Sleeper, we love. Our boss, the skipper, sent us a note yesterday. He had made 7 sleeper picks, I think, and won them all. Or maybe it was 5. Either way, all in baseball, you can bet on the individuals, right? And he had done that. Will Ezekiel Duran get a hit? Will Jacob deGrom strike out 2? Will, all these different things. You bet on those, and you don't have to put a heck of a lot of money down. And the next thing you know, you've made money. And if you put a lot down, you've made a lot. And if you don't put a lot down, you've made a little. And it's fun. It makes it really fun. It doesn't have to just be our guys. It can be guys from any team, anywhere, and it doesn't just have to be baseball. Sleeper.com, use the code DLLS, and you get a $100 first deposit match, up to $100. They match whatever you put in, but I say, what the heck? Go ahead and put in that hundo, and then they'll match it. So other things that we want to talk about there's Jeff joining us right now. So before we get to some of the many comments that you guys have had, and we appreciate them very much, let's check in with Jeff to see what he's heard down there from the manager and what he's heard from, no doubt, Jacob deGrom and anybody else you talked to, Jeff. Hey.
Hey, yeah, we talked to the manager, Chris Martin, and we
Yep.
talked to Kyle Higashioka. Uh, you know, obviously everybody wanted to know about Jacob deGrom, and I don't know, he's still not quite there yet with his mechanics, but you know, pretty pretty dang good when you only allow 2 little
Yeah.
soft singles and 2 walks where you pitch around, their hottest pitcher, or their hottest hitter rather. And then he really found something that second time through the order. The slider got sharper and kind of pitched backwards. It wasn't really throwing his fastball to set them up, but using the other pitches to do it as well. And it was great. There's a pitching overlay that the pitching ninja tweeted out, and the Grom slider was just exactly where it needs to be when it's really really good. Lower outside corner, maybe a little bit off the plate because it's that good. And so I think we talked about it in the pregame show how he might be a little jumpy, and the fastball might be a little bit higher, and that was the case, and he admitted it. And so it was probably what we were expecting. A little bit of rough spot there at times, but still better than what anybody else does. I mean, it wasn't vintage Jacob deGrom, but it was really damn good. So good for him. He Bochy said he could have gone out for another inning, and Jacob wanted to go out for another inning just because of the situation with the bullpen. But next time out, Bochy said Jacob's, could go six, could go seven. He's at that point where he's built up enough to do that. And, they're really, for the most part, low stress pitches too, and that's another thing. You always hear about stressful pitches. A guy may throw 80 pitches in 5 innings, but he might have guys on base all 5 innings, and those take their toll a little bit more than clean innings. So, um, yeah, it was good. And then the bullpen, another strong day. Got a little hairy there in the ninth, as it often does with the closer. But really, the bullpen did a fantastic job. I know the opening game it got away from Luke Jackson, but you look at what they did the next 3 nights. Pretty good stuff for guys that 6 new guys and 2 guys who um, were rookies last year, and I think are still have rookie status. So a great series all the way around, really.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And you're talking about those clean innings from Jacob. First inning, 3 up, 3 down. His last inning was 4 up, 3 down, and same with the fourth inning, 4 up, 3 down, and really the third. So yeah, he was not worried about that much. Now I did notice second time through the order. When he got to running through them the second time, he added those curveballs and those changeups. And then all of a sudden, after no strikeouts through the first time through the order, he got 6 strikeouts second time he faced that guy.
Yeah, that's making it an adjustment. Obviously, some of it was mechanical, some of it was just feedback from the hitters, and um, you know, and he said this, and a lot of people think of him as fastball slider guy, and if you watch Jacob earlier in his career, he did throw a lot of changeups, and it can be a good pitch. The curveball, he threw it twice in the first inning, or he threw it once in the first and once in the second. Got positive results off of them. So it's a weapon too. I mean, everything this guy does is good. Every pitch he throws is good. He probably has a great knuckleball. And
Yeah,
it's just he's just that kind of guy. But again, he's not thrilled with it. He knows how good he can be. He's tightening up the mechanics. He talked to us in the media room, and then I went over and talked to him a little bit afterward, and he like gave me a his mechanic. He like demonstrated it and talked about his release point on his fastball and all this stuff. And it's not quite there yet. And but nevertheless, it was still good enough to get some swings and misses to keep the Red Sox hitters honest. And man, you look at 5 scoreless and you think, geez, if the Rangers can get, you're not going to get 5 scoreless every game, but if you can get 2-6 or 1-7 or even 1-5, he's going to give you a chance to win.
yeah, there's no doubt. And the offense is going to come through, continue to come through. Very timely hitting in the game today. You said you talked to Chris Martin, too. Jeff, one of the things I love about watching Chris right now is his emotion out there. I don't remember it
Yeah.
as much from his previous stint here, but this this success that he's having out there, and he's been successful every game. Man, it's firing him up.
It was a big spot, and he gave up that leadoff hit. Bregman got to third with 1 out, and the Campbell at bat was huge. He needed a strike out there. The Rangers were playing the infield in, but it was important to get a strike out there, and he did it with back-to-back splitters. I think the splitter that he threw on the 2-2 pitch was never a strike, or never looked like it'd be a strike. And the 3-2 pitch just tumbled out of the zone, and you're throwing it to a rookie who maybe hasn't seen something like that before. So
Yeah,
it worked out, and then of course you got the intentional walk to Abreu, which was pretty darn smart. I
wise.
think that's what I think that's what the Rangers would have done on Thursday, on opening day, had Josh Young made that play. Um, anyway, so then you go out and you get Wong, and that's all she wrote. And Luke Jackson did his job. It wasn't pretty, but you know what? It's a save. It's a win. It's a series win. I mean, it's a lot of good things. The one thing that was interesting that Chris Martin said was he said it felt like a playoff series.
Wow.
The opening series of the season two really good teams, and every game was tight. Tie game going to the ninth on opening day, 2-run win on Friday, and then two 1-run games. So hey, the Rangers are going to be good. They're going to play a lot of low scoring games, a lot of tight games, and this bullpen, a bunch of guys that we don't know, acquitted itself pretty nicely.
Yeah, we're going to know them. Everybody is going to know them soon. I get the feeling. I was saying before you came on, Jeff, one of my favorite poses of the game was Adolis after, just right after the bat flip, with the hand up in the air, right? I mean, and like to me,
Uh,
I was saying to our chatters and everyone, I said, you know what? That is Adolis Garcia, right? In
yeah,
22, 23, that kind of, and early, very early when he first got here, that was criticized a little bit, but man, they loved it. The team fed off of it in 2023, and then of course he lived up to it. It ain't bragging if you can do it, and he did it
yeah.
in the playoffs. And so I just thought that was a fantastic sign.
You know, um, Good series for him. I thought the ball he hit in the third was going to go out and go into the bullpen. I thought he had gotten just enough of that. You can talk a lot about it. It was an 0-2 pitch that he hit for the home run. It was a sweeper, a pitch that he usually doesn't handle very well. So there are a lot of indicators that would suggest, hey, this new swing is going to be quicker. He has changed his approach. So you know, 4 games in, it's pretty good. You're hoping that's what you see. Now he had a great April last year and then just fell off the face of the earth. So we haven't even gotten to April yet, but you know what I mean. A great first month. This seems seems to be an encouraging sign for him. This opening series, and that you're right. The emotion. I kind of laughed. I saw him do it, and I was like, God, I hope that gets out. And of course, he knew it, but
Yeah.
I wasn't so sure. It seemed like there were some balls that didn't really carry that well this series. I know Heim's first home run carried pretty well. I guess Langford's did carry well today, so maybe I'm just have my head at my butt, but it just seemed like there were some balls that were hit, especially the left field that I thought were going to be deeper than they were, but whatever. Yeah, a good Adolis is nothing but good for the Rangers.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And then to see Wyatt Langford go the opposite way, and I mean, it wasn't one of those that you knew or he knew or anyone knew off the bat that it was going to get out. It scrapes the wall, and it did get out. And really, the greatest part about that one was the timing of it. They had just lost
Hmm.
the lead, and now boom, they're right back in it.
I did think off the bat that one
Did you?
was gonna go. I thought it was gonna go like I thought it was like no question. I thought it was definitely gonna go into the seats. It kept slicing a little bit, so maybe that's where some of the distance went. But yeah, this guy's great, and he can hit to all fields, and he hits a lot of balls hard. Yeah, I can't tell you how many balls were that both teams hit hard this series on the ground. We're talking like 105, 106 mile per hour ground balls that somebody just happened to get in front of. Jonathan Ornelas got in front of a couple of them today. Um, there were hard hit balls throughout the series. Wyatt, it seems, is right in the mix there, always hitting a ball hard. He made a nice catch running backwards. He's a really good base runner. There's just so much to like about him. And he didn't hit his first over the fence home run until May last year, and
Yeah.
obviously he was a rookie. But get it out of the way. Don't have to worry about that this year. Not that he ever was, but he's going to be right there in the middle of the order. He's tough to double up. I mean, just so many things you can say positively about Wyatt Langford, and um, I don't know what to say. I'm
Yeah, well,
I'm excited about
yeah, like the ball he beat out in the first inning. You know,
for sure,
I mean,
for sure.
he gets down the line so fast. That's not. I mean, that's just. And again, the pitcher's somewhat in no man's land. He shouldn't try to field that ball, but it's instinct. And Fitz is a tall guy, so it's instinct. You try to go get it, but it definitely you can't do that.
Yeah, that's one thing that pitchers nowadays they're just so much better off not even trying. And you'll see a lot of guys just try to get out of the way because they know that they've got a guy right behind them. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like it was a soft hit ball. It got to Bregman pretty quick, um, and past the pitcher pretty quick. It's not like it was just a little rinky-dink thing. So that's what speed does. It forces
Yeah.
a faster, quicker release on the throw, a wider throw. So that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, really good. That's the bell. We got more coming up. We'll get to some of the thoughts you all have about this game, and also a little bit more from what Bruce Bochy had told Jeff moments ago when he was down there chatting with him and the rest of the media. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Oh, and Jeff, we're going to start by bragging on you as you take over the sleeper leaderboard. The rest of the whole station, complete, especially Bobby with those 4 losses. They're all jealous of you, Jeff.
Yeah, when Jeff Kavanaugh was arguing the other day, or on the Rangers show or the Cowboys show, talking about how I needed to pick it up, I figured, oh, these guys must be picking like games left and right. He's only made 5 picks, all right. So I
Yeah,
don't need any crap from Kavanaugh. And plus, as you know, sleeper is not available in Arizona, where I was for a lot of these standings. So, but yeah, I mean, I fully expect this of myself to be undefeated. And I didn't send Bobby any of my picks today, but I would have won. So I'll go ahead and get in another pick tomorrow and improve to 4-0, and then we'll go from there. But sleeper, I know you did the sleeper spot earlier, John, right when I was coming on, but it just makes things so much fun. Do this with your friends, compete with your friends. Hell,
yeah.
have some money on the side. That's what I always thought we should have done with the DLLS crew. Put up $20 and see who prevails at the end of this thing.
Yeah, the skipper's got about 20 comments in the chat over here about all of his great success. He says he's going to win $48 tonight, but we'll check with him tomorrow on that. Meantime, don't forget about FOCO. They are a great place to go to get anything you want that represents your favorite team. You can get your hats and your shirts and your hoodies and, like we've said many times, not lately, overalls, gloves for gardening. It's that time of year. You need those gloves. You can get the little bracelets that anything you want to represent your team, they've got it at FOCO. If you go to FOCO.com and use that code DLLS, you'll get 10% off. You might just as well go to FOCO. Okay, so Jeff, what else did Boch talk about? Like, did he talk about the offense and sort of the timeliness and, if you will, the clutchness of the
Yeah,
offense here?
yeah, he did. The long ball was a big factor today because this Richard Fitz pitched really well. He was frankly he was more efficient than deGrom was. And he started the fifth inning in the 40s on his pitch count. So good showing for him in his first start of the season. He just I wouldn't call the Langford pitch a mistake. Maybe it was a little bit elevated. Obviously, 0-2, you don't ever want to give up a home run. But when we finished the ball game, it was 2 hours and 13 minutes, and that's because the starting pitchers were efficient. I mean, that's it. They limited the damage. Even the runs that Fitz did give up were, obviously that inning where the Rangers should have scored more. Zeke Duran got the sacrifice fly, but kind of good timing for Fitz, bad timing for the Rangers on the part of the lineup that came up. But when you just give up solo home runs, it happens pretty quick. So it was pretty good work by him, and for the Rangers to do just enough. It seemed that was the deal, the whole series. They did just enough, which means yes, they probably have more in the tank. Remember they were playing without Corey Seager today. Josh Young's going to be out for the next 10. Josh Smith was down. They hope he can play tomorrow. So Jonathan Ornelas isn't a great offensive player right now in his career and may never be. He's an awesome fielder. The Rangers think he's probably, there are some in the organization I know who think that Jonathan Ornelas is the best shortstop in the organization. And the kid can play defense. There's no question about it. But that said, the Rangers are hoping that Josh Smith can play tomorrow somewhere. I would, if he's limited range wise, it seems like third base might be the spot for him tomorrow.
Yeah,
But man, that Cincinnati forecast is wild this week. It's it's supposed it's apparently there's thunderstorms right now. It's going to be in the 40s tomorrow at first pitch. Uh, Tuesday looks like a decent day, and then Wednesday is going to be thunder showers and like 80 degrees. So they're going to go from 40 to 80 within the span of 48 hours, but have all kinds of weather issues. So um, if people have been asking, hey, why aren't you covering the Cincinnati series? Well, we were afraid of this. we
yeah,
we don't want to go get stuck in the weather and have to change flights and extra hotel night and all that stuff. So
no, it's a
um,
beating.
it's going to be a scramble for the Rangers to get this one in. It really is.
Yeah, you mentioned the defense of Ornelas. There was that play that ultimately was ruled an error on Zeke, and I suppose it should have been called a throwing error. I mentioned before you got on, Jeff, uh, Jake Berger will, as he continues to evolve and get better at first, but he'll scoop that ball, probably sooner rather than later. But he should have. That should have
Yeah,
been a play made.
100%. And it looked like he lost his balance maybe a little bit. It just seemed like he wasn't. Maybe he mistimed his stretch. I don't know what it was, but I mean that throw needs to be at your chest, at the first baseman's chest. It was a catcher running. I know Zeke was behind the bag pretty deep, but know your base runner, make a good throw. But yes, Berger should have come up with that. Should have bailed out his third baseman there. All right, he didn't. They ended up winning the game. Great, but those are little things that you gotta clean up.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And lots of talk in the chat about closers still. First of all, two things. One thing about today's situation, I loved Luke Jackson knew that Bregman went, right? I mean, Luke
Right.
Jackson, he was off that mound. I'm going, wait a minute. Luke Jackson knew. And then they show the replay, and of course he did. And so it was
Yeah.
great. I mean, it's great to see him. I must admit, when he got two strikes on Bregman fairly quickly, I'm sitting there thinking, all right, what's his out pitch? I want something a little more there. I don't know. Just, there's not I guess maybe just because of the lack of experience, there isn't a tremendous amount of confidence about the closer yet.
Well, his out pitch was getting ahead 0-2. He's got
Yeah.
he's got such an advantage there. He's got to put the hitter on the defense, and um, I thought it might have been his best curveball that he threw, though. It dove nicely and looked like a strike for a while. So it was a pretty effective pitch. He did so well last season against right-handed hitters. In the second half, his strikeout rate was nearly 40% against right-handed hitters. So he can do it a couple ways with the fastball or the curveball. It was interesting though that the pitch tracker was calling one a slider and one a curveball, and there wasn't a ton of velocity differential, but the movement was noticeable, I thought. But I thought Bregman swung, and glad he did, because really the worst part of that inning was the walk to Devers, who was just dreadful, historically bad in this series, and struck out 12 times I think in 16 at bats. Um, Need to challenge him there. He's not going to hit a fastball right now. He's so screwed up. So anyway, he didn't. They got the three outs anyway. But when you look at the bullpen, uh, Jackson didn't pitch great in the opener. Um, Came back and was really, really good on Friday. Was down yesterday, and Martin was good. And then, Martin was good also, as we talked about earlier in the eighth when he got those two big strikeouts. Um, those are going to be the guys, all right? I mean, Robert Garcia looks like he's still trying to find something. Today was better, though. Sean Armstrong seems to be a guy who they're going to trust too.
Yeah.
Give up the 0-2 hit to Abreu. Just can't do that. But got should have gotten out of there with a tie, as we talked about with the Duran throw. So even Webb, who I thought Webb would work in these situations, but they need him for his length right now. So until that situation gets itself sorted out, it looks like it's going to be some combination of Armstrong, Garcia, Martin, Jackson, and I'm telling you, they're going to stick with Jackson. Yeah, they're gonna until it doesn't work,
Yep.
and it may lead to some uh, tight situations like today. But you also have to recognize that you need a you need a big setup guy who can go clean up a mess in the seventh and the eighth. And Chris Martin, I mean, last year the Rangers saw everybody saw David Robertson do that. Well, Chris Martin could be this year's David Robertson.
Yeah.
He really could be. There are a lot
Yeah.
of big outs and a lot of games to save. A lot of the oftentimes the biggest outs aren't in the ninth inning. They're in the seventh or eighth. So, hey, it's worked pretty much so far. Obviously, it could have been better on Thursday, but it worked the next three nights. So the Rangers should feel good about the bullpen right now. A bunch of guys who we didn't know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
feel good about it right now.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah. Take
let's
what
not
we've gotten. Yeah, yeah. Take the
yeah.
success. Saves in 2 out of 3 save opportunities for Luke Jackson, and that's a positive thing. You mentioned Devers. It occurred to me today. I was thinking, man, and Daniel says the Red Sox are ruining Devers. That's a lot of money left on the contract. Some guys need to be in the game. DHing is not easy. All good points. However, this is karma coming right back at Devers, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
sign Alex Bregman, who's a doubles machine, and he's got that short porch and the Green Monster as his home, field, his backdrop, right? You have to be happy as a team. Wow, our team just got better. And instead, Devers said, "I'm the third baseman," right? Just a bad approach, a bad look, and karma's coming back on him. Jeff, he may not get a hit all year.
It looks like he's not gonna. I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty bad. Um, yeah, he's put. You could argue. I first of all, I agree that DHing is hard.
Yes,
All
very
right,
much.
especially when you've been an everyday player, it is hard. It really is. It's chronicled. People talk about it. But this is who it's going to be. He needed to wrap his mind around it a lot sooner. He didn't need to stand up and be defiant. That decision didn't need to be made public until the day before the season. It needed to be settled early in spring training. Just say, hey, this is how we're rolling with this. Okay. Now I think they were waiting to see if Campbell would be good enough to make the team. He didn't really have a great spring, but they put him on the team anyway, and he had a really nice series. The rookie. Um, but it should have been, look, man, you're probably going to be the DH. Get used to it. Get your mind wrapped around it. We're not going to screw around with it. We've signed this guy because he's going to make us better. First baseman's a good player, and this young kid is a good player. And we got a shortstop who's coming, but we have a shortstop right now who's a really good player. You know, the
Yeah.
goal here is to win. The goal here is to win games. You've made your money. Now go out and win.
Yep.
And so it might have been kind of telling back there at the start of camp who Devers is.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I think it's also telling how this Rangers team is going to evolve, right? They all, I was talking to Hobie Milner, who actually had a couple of good outings over the course of the weekend, and I was asking him about the bullpen, and he said, how bullpens develop is when we pick each other up, when we or piggyback off what somebody else just did. And he said, I see it happening already because, he's going out, he's going out there. Sean Armstrong's going out there, obviously Garcia's going out there, Martin's going out there, and they're doing the job. And then everybody feeds off of that,
Yeah.
and the brotherhood, if you will, grows, and the camaraderie grows, and I see that happening within the team as well.
Nobody wants to be the weak link. You obviously want to do well, but you want to do well because you don't want to let your team down and be the one guy. I mean, I bet Rafael Devers, and well, I don't bet. I hope he feels bad about his performance and that he's motivated to get better. But based on what we were just talking about, maybe he's not. But yeah, you don't want to be the guy that keeps letting the team down. But as a reliever, you also kind of like a cornerback, you got to have a short memory. You can't you might get beat, but you're going to be needed the next day maybe. And Luke Jackson showed that Friday after his trouble Thursday. So that is how it kind of develops. You're right, John. It's picking each other up, cleaning up. A guy goes out and he's not great, so somebody else comes in and cleans up the inning, like Martin did for Garcia on opening day. Something like that. You build trust in the next guy, and then you want to pick them up. You want to be in the situation where you can help them out too. So anyway, and then you see these guys kind of band together after 7 1/3 innings yesterday of bullpen usage. Chris Martin pitched 3 out of 4 days in this series. Luke Jackson did too. So did Sean Armstrong. So did Robert Garcia. You know, Ideally, like we talked about pregame, you have an off day in there in this
Yep.
opening series, but it is what it is. And the Rangers think they'll be okay tomorrow. It's Tuesday that they have to worry about potentially getting an arm if Rocker goes short or something like that. Um, so, well, it's always something to watch. But
No
this
doubt.
bullpen, yeah,
No
this
doubt.
bullpen,
Couple
they
of
just seem
things.
like good guys.
Sure. A couple of things in the chat about Rocker we'll get to. And of course, we will talk about that series in Cincinnati, perhaps some of the interesting things, not all of them, but some of them that have happened in the game of baseball throughout this first weekend of the season. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And it's time for you to be a diehard.
Oh
That
yeah.
is the only choice you can make right now because what's happening is Jeff is writing feverishly about everything that's happening out there, and you're missing it. And so, and not only Jeff, we've got people on our Cowboys beat, our Mavericks beat, our Stars beat, all writing, and especially, I mean, the Stars clinched their playoff berth last night. The Stars are legit. And there is a lot you're going to want to read from Sam Nestler over the course of the next couple of months as the Stars make this playoff run. Of course, the Cowboys have the draft coming up. The Mavericks, well, anyway, the other teams are all really worth reading about. So, anyway, you need to become a diehard because, and truthfully, it's, people read about car wrecks, which is essentially what the Mavericks are. Although, you know what? They're in the 10th spot or maybe even 9 right now. I think they're in the play-in. So, it's going to be interesting down the stretch. Become a diehard, $79.99. And, Jeff, if you do that, you get a free shirt.
That's right. And I'm not wearing a shirt today.
Me neither.
I'm wearing something else, but I did laundry last night instead of going to the ballpark. I did the laundry and I hung up 4 or 5 shirts. So I've got my bullpen is fully ready to go, John, for this week as far as the DLS merch, which you can get at store.allcitynetwork.com. And I'm calling up 2 shirts. Remember, I got 2 shirts coming in. The 2 new shirts, those should be arriving this week. I'm looking forward to wearing those. But it's not just shirts; it's sweatshirts, it's beer steins, coffee mugs. You can get a DLLS flag if you want. But good price, good stuff. And again, if you become a diehard, you get a free shirt every year you renew.
Yep. And by the way, I got my order in yesterday, Jeff, on my 2
Okay.
baseball shirts. So get those new baseball shirts as well. They're really cool. Baseball Time in Texas shirt and a Hello Win Column shirt. And there had been 3 days you could have worn that already this season, that Hello Win Column shirt. So very fun and cool designs. So we're big fans, and you'll see us both modeling them soon enough. Hopefully, we won't be modeling the same one on the same day, but we don't call each other about it. So it might happen.
That's right.
It just might. As we said, the skipper and Bobby were wearing the same shirt the other day. And yeah, it looked, a little unsettling. But what the hell? It
Maybe we
happened.
do need to call each other, John.
Maybe we should. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
we
yeah,
should.
just to make sure. Yeah,
All
yeah,
right. So let's get to some of this stuff about Rocker coming up pitching tomorrow. And I see, tough task, which is a great point from Daniel for Rocker in that home run friendly stadium that the Reds play in, and in, as
yeah.
you had already mentioned, Jeff, some potentially difficult weather circumstances.
Yeah. You know how to Daniel's point, you know how friendly it is there in Cincinnati. You Darvish hit a home run there to
That's
straightaway center field.
right.
All right, so that ought to tell you about how hitter friendly it is. It's a pretty park. It's right there on the Ohio River, and in the summer it's humid and the ball goes a little bit more. So you think maybe the cold weather could work to Kamar's advantage if he's commanding his fastball and able to get that slider slash curveball, whatever he calls it, over. But he throws the sinker too. It just seems like at times that fastball has been really hard for guys to hit, even when he wasn't going well in spring training. It still had some characteristics on it that just made it hard to hit. A lot of it is the velocity. That's a hell of a characteristic to have, when it's 97, 98. I'll be curious to see how he does. Obviously, he has the mound presence. He's just an intimidating guy up there. 6'5", 250 pounds, and just brings it, power stuff. So I can understand the tough task in the ballpark, but also the spring could have gone better. He's really only these last two times been serviceable. So you hope that he has continued to find something that'll work against a not a bad lineup. Some good young players. De La Cruz obviously can be a terror. The one thing that's should be a concern, and it's a concern I think after this series also. Rangers gave up a bunch of stolen bases, and Rocker in that start against the Rockies gave Bruce Bochy called it a track meet, and it was. Those Rockies guys are just stealing bases standing up. So you got to be able to pay attention to the base runners. The best way to do that is to keep them off the bases. But the Reds like to run, and De La Cruz, we saw him steal all three bases in one inning during his rookie season. So Kumar needs to be pretty aware of that if and when Reds hitters get on base.
Yeah, and Mike Bassick was talking about it during the game today about typically you are stealing off the pitcher, right? Not off the
For
catcher.
sure. Yeah.
That said, the ability that the Red Sox showed demonstrated to steal. There was one time when the runner goes and Prophet and I are sitting there, and I go, "For God's sake, gun somebody down," and we didn't. You know, I mean, like it's just like that's not quite clicking yet.
Yeah, yeah. So don't blame the catcher
Right.
on
No,
that.
not at all.
Unless the catcher is like Mike Piazza at the end of his career, just
Right.
can't even get it back to the pitcher.
Yeah.
And so it's it is definitely and you can look. Greg Maddux was no good at holding runners. He he really didn't concern himself with them. I think deGrom today was definitely felt like he could get outs and didn't really worry too much about the runners. But you know, there's no guarantees. Some bad luck. You can make a great pitch and a guy can flip it into right field and the base runner can get a good read on the ball and all of a sudden that stolen base comes back to bite you in the butt. It almost got Chris Martin in the eighth when Bregman easily stole second base and then went to third with one out. So it's something that I'm gonna guess will be addressed. I just think there are some guys though who are just bad at it and it's usually power pitchers. So Rocker, a power pitcher, but it was better against the Royals. He did work on it in his bullpen session. Uh, Leiter, when Leiter slide steps, he's pretty good. Well, they're all pretty good when they slide step, but um, yeah, I think that needs to be monitored better than it was in this series.
Sure. T Farmer says he's dreading watching Rocker pitch tomorrow. And I don't, and probably I would guess the only thing I would dread is if he struggles and it in some way sets him back even mentally. And that's only because he had the poor spring. But I'm actually excited. I do think too, Jeff, that pitchers feed off each other, starting pitchers, in particular, and in this case, following Jacob deGrom is not a bad thing, right? You
Yeah,
are charged today with watching the game extremely closely and charting the pitches and all that as tomorrow's starter, and to watch that guy do what he did is, I think, is nothing but helpful for somebody like Kumar Rocker.
yeah, yeah, obviously a new team, but
Yeah,
um, watch the best guys go about it. Ask them questions if they need to make adjustments. ask them what they did. It's going to come back to help you. And then one other thing about Kamar that hasn't been out and out talked about. Chris Young has kind of hinted at it, but the Rangers truly believe that Kamar Rocker, when the lights come on in a big building with lots of people on a bigger stage, will thrive off of the atmosphere. Um, they genuinely believe that's an element that he has, and you saw it in at Vanderbilt a little bit. The super regional game where he threw a no hitter and struck out 18 or 19 to send Vanderbilt to the College World Series. He's really good on the big stage. So obviously, I don't know that March 31st in Cincinnati is a big stage, but it's his first start on his first opening day roster. And hey, he can't let Jack Leiter be 1-0. He needs to go out there and be 1-0 too. Hopefully they have a friendly
That's right.
competition
That's
going.
right.
Whether it's spoken or unspoken, Kamar has a lot of motivation to go out there tomorrow and pitch his tail off.
Yeah, there is no doubt about that, and that's going to be fun to watch. Hopefully, perhaps all season if they're both good. Leiter seems to have gotten himself in position to stay right. Not only stay for now at the big league level, Jeff, but stay in the starting rotation. I heard you were asking just where he is now. Did he go to Arizona? But there's another guy out there waiting and potential with lots of big league experience who could be unseating one of those two guys as a starter.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that Patrick Corbin, that the Bruce Bochy didn't know where he was.
Yeah,
Uh, that kind of talks about he's focused on the task at hand, and they had to make a decision with Josh Young going to the injured list, and how they were going to replace him, and who was ready and available in the bullpen after last night. So I can understand it, but Patrick Corbin's not at the ballpark today. I believe he's in Phoenix or in Surprise. He told me, unless the plan has changed, he told me earlier in the week that he was going to pitch in Arizona, that he'd be coming back and forth between the team in Arizona and getting his work in there, even though he's been optioned to AAA Round Rock. Still, the first day he's able to come back, barring an injury, is April 11th. So the Rangers are going to make as much out of that time as possible, but they're eyeballing April 11th as the day that he makes his debut. And look, if Rocker and Leiter are both 2-0 with a 3 ERA and have been effective, why would you mess with that? So I just think that that's a possibility that um, the Rangers will consider. Well, maybe we need to put Corbin in the bullpen here. Maybe
sure.
maybe that's the move. Maybe it's Garabito for Corbin, or maybe it's Church, even though he hasn't done anything wrong. But if you want length, maybe it's Church for Corbin. So um, some things will be determined here in the next 10 days, 11 days regarding that. He has to go out there and pitch. He pitched what, Monday in a simulated game, so maybe he threw today. I'm not sure, because again, the manager was unable to provide us with a clear answer. But that's okay. That's okay. But he's out there looming, to your point, and
Yeah. And
Rocker and
meantime,
Leiter.
about this scheduling that we've talked a little bit about in the pregame as well. So it's 4 at home, 3 on the road, back home for 3. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a strange schedule to start the season.
Yeah, that's a pain in the ass. I don't understand why you just throw in the 3 home games.
I don't either.
Everybody wonders about the schedule every year. Every team looks at it and like, what are they thinking here? What's the deal? So, um, that's fine. They'll be. I don't know. And like going from Cincinnati home then to the West Coast, it seems like or no, back to Chicago. Sorry. So
Yeah,
you're
that's right.
going north, south, northwest, and eh, do a better job. This is one of those screwy situations. But that next homestand, you got a chance to see, should be able to see both deGrom and Rocker in that one.
Oh, how cool. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. So, anyway, the Rangers are 3-1 on the season. We think, by all accounts, the Boston Red Sox are a team to be reckoned with this year. They have good pitching. They showed that during the course of these 4 games. the Rangers were just better in 3 of the 4 games. So they're off to a great start, and the Red Sox are looking up big time at the New York Yankees in the American League East. That's going to do it for us today on this post-game edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast. But we're back tomorrow and Tuesday for regular noon shows. Then on Wednesday, what is it, 11:30? No, a 10:30 show, right? Pre-game?
11. It's at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock pregame show on Wednesday, and then, of course, a postgame show after Getaway Day, the finale in Cincinnati. So hopefully we've got more good things to report on and talk with you about on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We thank you for joining, chatting, and hanging out with us today, and we'll see you again tomorrow at noon for another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.